name is Oscar, and I am the country coordinator of IFRE in Guatemala. They are helping the poor people here by volunteering with them and supporting them with the skills that the volunteers have, the skills that they have learned in the universities in their country. They are welcome at the host family, it's like a part of the family too. So it is very useful part of this experience because they can experience the real Guatemalan culture.
I'm working at a place that's called an orphanage, but it is more like a place where children go once they've been victims of child abuse. And so the children stay there for a period of time where their parents are undergoing, some kind of treatment to better the situation, and then they have a court hearing similar to in the U.S. To see if they can go back with their parents. So the orphanage provides them food, they sleep there, and also they take classes there. And I've been working with the special education class.
Volunteering abroad, helping students in a different country. I've never done anything like this before. So it was really nice to help other people outside of California. And I was always kind of wondering, why wouldn't I just focus on California, where I am at, because a lot of kids need help there. But through my internship, I've been able to help a lot of kids that have been abused. So it's really nice getting exposed to a different country and culture and seeing how they run the things and trying not to interfere with their structure of things.
We started the termination process with the kids from day one because we were only going to be there for a short amount of time. And so what we wanted to do for the kids, because they were removed from their home, is we wanted to model healthy termination with them. On the last day that we were there, we had a little presentation that we did for the students, and we basically gave them a little speech and we told them how much we learned from them, and we wrote them a little poem. And so the poem says, some people are going to come and go in your lives, but what's most important is the friendship that you had with each other.
I was speaking to the psychologist at the orphanage, and I was telling her how I felt really attached to this 11-year-old little girl, and that I'm going to leave back to the States thinking about what her future is going to be. And the psychologist told me that, well, the best thing that you can take back home with you is that you came here and that you got to experience love, like the purest kind of love, because that's the way children love, is just pure. So that makes me feel better, knowing that I came here and that maybe I wasn't able to give a lot of stuff, but I did give love to some kids. So that's it.
I was placed at EDELAC, which stands for Escuela de la Calle. It's a school for street children. And it was started by a Guatemalan teacher who saw a large number of street children in this particular area. And he built this school to keep these children out of the streets. A lot of these children come from families whose parents use substances or whose fathers have left them, or they have a high number of siblings. And the school is funded in part by a nonprofit organization called Quetzaltenango.
My name's Eric Halling. I'm from Sweden. I've been with Quetzaltenango for about a bit more than 5 months. Quetzaltenango is a non-profit trekking organization. They started it because they had a school to fund, Escuela de la Calle. They found out that people wanted to go trekking, so they started this Quetzaltenango. And from that was 15 years ago, and it's still running. It's only run by volunteers like me, and all the money, as I said, goes to Escuela de la Calle, which is a school for, it has capacity for 200 kids, but right now it's only 140 maybe. It's a lot of fun, and it's really rewarding. And you see what we do for communities that we trek through, and where we stop to sleep and eat, and we get close contacts with these people.
I feel like the social workers that we spoke to were very interested in self-determination.
They work year-round, they work the full year, and they have a 1-month vacation. Their salaries aren't very good. They're not that great. I think in US dollars is about $300 per month. Kids here
are, at least at the orphanage where I worked, are placed from ages like 1 month or 2 till 12 in one location, and then once they become 12, they're sent to Guatemala City. So the social worker's role is to be able to do all the arrangements to send all these kids, every year out to other agencies where they're placed.
How is life here different from life in the States? It's very different. I've met a couple of people here who originally came to spend, a certain amount of time here, and they ended up staying here for many years. Like the yoga instructor here, yes, there's yoga in Guatemala, in Xela. He's American, and he's been in the States for 10 years. So I think my theory on that is that life in the U.S. is so fast-paced, and it's all about consumerism and material stuff and what your social status is over there. I can see how people get fed up of that, and they come here, and life is not about that. Here, life is just, every day it's a new day, and it's a slow pace. So I can see how this would be appealing to some people. I find it appealing too, but I don't think I would make that leap. Because I like a lot of the comforts of the U.S., like hot water, and I like the sunny weather. It's been raining here for 2 weeks every evening. It's raining now.
I feel, at least the people that I've come across are a lot more friendlier. Like, you walk by and they greet you like, good afternoon, hi, how are you, may God be with you. I can see how religion kind of plays a huge role here. Also, the families are very welcoming. Not that families in the U.S. aren't, but just here they're very loving, comforting. I don't know, the culture in general is a lot different from the U.S. I see a lot of hardworking people, like labor work, a lot here. Like ladies balancing things on their head, like very heavy things, and even children carrying like their brother or sister, I'm assuming, on their back, or other heavy things. There's a lot of cars, and they try to run you over at times. So definitely it's not pedestrian right away, it's the car right away. But minor things like that.
What I really liked about this program was that we were able to live with the host family, and that was a really great way of getting to know the Guatemalan culture. What was really fun about dinner time especially was that we actually talked about what we did today, and it really felt like we were part of a family. And what I think is important is that family means so much to them, and over here in Los Angeles it's the same thing, but we're more caught up with like the hustle and bustle of our everyday lives and working and going to school and all the other activities that we're involved with, and sometimes we get too distracted from actually being able to sit together at the dinner table and actually talk to each other about what goes on during our days. And that's something that I really liked about living with the host family and being able to experience that.
What was challenging is the adoption process here. I guess they try to match the kids based on if they kind of resemble you, because I guess they're trying to make it seem like the children belong to the family. So if you want to adopt a child that you really like, but let's say like me, I have dark hair and I wanted to adopt a little girl who has maybe blonde hair, I probably wouldn't get her, because they want the children to be matched up with parents who are kind of similar looking. And also there's a long list of kids who are on a waiting list to get adopted. So it's not based on who you feel a connection to, it's whoever they give you.
There was a lot of challenges, I guess, in our role as a volunteer. And one of the areas that I found we were able to apply our interventions at were, teaching the kids how to have proper boundaries with the volunteers that were there. One of the situations where a little girl would come up and kiss my cheek all the time, I told her, sometimes you need to ask somebody if you can give them a kiss on the cheek, or some people it's not proper to give them a kiss, so kind of just to model healthy boundaries.
We were there for 3 weeks, so we really can get that close attachment with babies, because they will become attached, and then when we're gone they begin to cry. So that was something challenging, trying to keep that balance so that we're there to assist, but also to make it something that is not challenging for them once we leave, and for us too, because we become attached.
I guess there are several challenges, like both personal and professional. Personally, the conditions are a little different than in the U.S., so I had to get used to living here and finding my way around. But overall, that kind of worked itself out. Professionally, our role here was not so much as a social worker, but as a volunteer. So it took me some time to figure out how I could incorporate social work into what I was doing, and so I tried to do that sort of just by using general things that I had learned in the first year, as far as for interacting with people and really being empathetic, and also if there was an issue that I saw arise between the children on the playground, I would try to intervene in those situations.
The language barrier was a huge one because especially when some of the kids were crying, I wanted to really comfort them and make them feel better. But I also didn't want to explore too many feelings because I wouldn't be able to adequately help them out because of the language barrier, and also my role there is more to assist them and just to, I guess, make them laugh and help them out with different activities. So that was definitely challenging. Aside of the orphanage here in the city, I'm not used to eating a lot of different types of food. So I'm kind of a picky eater, but it turned out really well. And then also getting adapted to the culture. That was a little difficult, but I really liked it because everybody's really nice here and friendly.
My internship last year, I felt like I was more of a teacher, but here in Guatemala, I felt like the kids were teaching me everything. So just coming back with an open mind and not expecting to know everything once I get home I think that's what I learned here.
A few weeks before we went to Guatemala, we had a retreat and we all came together to basically get to know each other and discuss any concerns that we were having about going to Guatemala. One of the activities that I thought was especially important was about how to let someone know respectfully that, for example, you needed your alone time. The airport ended up losing my luggage, and so I was in Guatemala for 3 weeks without any of my belongings, and it was a hard time for me because I wanted to get the most of the experience of being over there, and for the first couple weeks I basically wanted to be just alone and not really surrounded by a lot of people, and I thought, well, how can I make the best out of this situation? You know, I'm going to be here for 3 weeks, and you know, just complaining or just being sad about the situation isn't going to do anything about it. So I decided to use my friends as a support, and they were really, really helpful, and everyone kind of pitched in, you know, shared their toothpaste with me, you know, different kind of things, because I basically had everything in my luggage. So and then one of the things about that I learned about myself was that, you know, you don't really need all these things. I was in Guatemala with just a backpack full of stuff, and I survived.
I traveled to Guatemala with very minimal Spanish-speaking skills, and I got the opportunity to experience what it might be like for a new immigrant who just came to the United States, who does experience that similar kind of language barrier. I had the opportunity to participate in a staff meeting at EDILAC, and the teachers were really welcoming. They were trying to get me involved, and I had my dictionary out starting to translate, but even just understanding the question was a huge challenge. And then even when I had thoughts to share, I couldn't put them into words. Another thing that I learned was just how essential nonverbal communication is. There was a woman at the school who was asking me a question, and she started touching her jacket, and I had assumed that she was asking about my jacket, and I answered accordingly. It turns out she was asking if I wanted to eat lunch, and that's when I realized how important every facial expression or every hand gesture is when working with people who don't totally understand the language.
If I wouldn't have traveled to Guatemala, I would not know, you know, how different other cultures are from my own. So even coming from a Hispanic background, I think that Guatemalans are very different from Mexicans, considering that I'm Mexican. So I mean, I knew some stuff, but I think that learning more of their history, their culture, their like their everyday life was something that really made me grow as a person.
I think it was a great experience. I'm really glad that I did it. I think that I learned how places are different, but also how places are the same, and that's really what I love about traveling, is that I learned that human beings are still human beings, and the issues that those children here face are issues that are faced in the U.S. as well. Today we talked with a social worker, and she explained the process for the intake and everything, and a lot of it is very similar. And there are some differences, but I guess I was able to recognize the similarities between our country and Guatemala, and appreciate those similarities, but also to appreciate the differences and see where we could learn from them, maybe in some ways, or also where we can help them and teach them some of the things that we've learned, and not so much in a imperialistic way, but in a way that we're sharing information and we're working for what's best for, in this case, the children.
Saludar espaldas, compañeros, saludar espaldas, espaldas, saludar. Saludar cachetes, compañeros, saludar cachetes, cachetes, saludar. Saludar rodillas, compañeros, saludar rodillas, rodillas, saludar.